So what's the best price point for an Amazon product? In this video, I discuss the key factors you need to consider when selecting a product to sell on Amazon. Hello everyone, it's Sajad, Stealth Amazon FBA. So there's so many things to consider when you're looking at a price point for an Amazon product in your Amazon marketplace where you're wishing to sell. For example, profit margins, PPC, volume of sales, ease of launch. You also need to consider your budget for that particular product, your initial capital investment. So let's go through all of them. These are the 5 main considerations that will inform you when it comes to deciding the price point of a product to go after. So for example, if you're in the US, do you go after a $10 product? Do you try and sell a $20 product? Or do you go after a $50 product? Let's discuss that right now. So the first consideration is the FBA fee. Now, the thing about the fee is it's generally constant. Now, it does obviously depend on the weight of your item, but it does not depend on the price point for your product, because this is the fee Amazon charges us as a seller to fulfill the order, to actually send your product to an Amazon customer. And this could be anything from around £2 or dollars all the way up to £4 or £5 or dollars. So it's that kind of range. But remember, it's fixed. There are $10 products that cost the same in terms of FBA fee as compared to even $40 or $50 products. So what does that mean for price point? Basically what that means is you should completely avoid very cheap products. So trying to sell something for $7, let's say, or less is an absolute no-no. Even in the US, trying to sell something for less than $10, you have to be very careful with for the same reason. Now there are exceptions to the rule, and if you're already an experienced seller, you can go after those lower priced products. But at the beginning, the FBA fees are going to cut into so much of your profit that it's not worth doing. Let's have a look on the other side of the scale. So you're probably wondering, well Sajad, it just makes sense to go after a $40 or $50 product because that way we'll maximize our profit margins and other costs like sponsorship, PPC won't cut into our profit margins, right? Well, not necessarily so, because this is the other challenge. When you go too far the other way, there are 2 issues. The first issue is actually being able to afford to stock your product. Now, if you're going after a $50 product, you can easily be paying $25 or $30 per unit to your supplier. Now, how are you going to stock a 200 or 300 units of that particular item? Or let's say the minimum order quantity is 500. You're going to end up paying a lot in initial inventory, perhaps $10,000 or more. A lot of you as beginners, you don't have that capital, and even if you did, I would still advise not to do it. And the reason for that is there will be too much risk tied up in that initial investment in that one product. It's better to actually spread it over more lower priced products. The other issue with the higher prices is generally the volume of sales in that area will be low. If you take any general product, like let's say a household product, you'll find 80 to 90% of the sales are around the medium price category, anywhere from $10, let's say, to $30. Over and above that, you're going to get a smaller volume of sales. Now, this is a problem when it comes to cash flow. The faster you can move through the cash flow, the faster you can sell those products, get the cash back, order more inventory and flip again, the better. Because over a 12-month time frame, you're going to be making a much higher return on your investment as compared to somebody who goes for a lower number of sales, even though the profit margin is a little bit higher. So I hope that makes sense. The third consideration is PPC costs. Now, if those of you who are completely new, these are the sponsored ad costs. Sometimes on Amazon, you'll see certain listings and it'll say at the top, sponsored. Basically what that means is if you click on it, it will cost the seller anywhere from say 40 or 50 cents all the way up to $2, $3 to actually click on the listing and potentially buy your product, but they don't always do. Now you have to factor that in as well, because nowadays on Amazon, you will be running some long-term PPC for any of your products. Now, they won't result in all of your sales, but they will make up anywhere from 10% all the way up to 30 or 40% of your overall sales. Now, usually, typically for PPC, the cost for a sale could be something like $5 for a $20 product. So let's say you sold 100 units and 20 units were sold via PPC, 80 organic. It will average out to about $1 or $2 per item. Now, again, if you're selling something for only $10 and on average it's costing you $1 or $2 in PPC, this will greatly cut into your margin. However, the interesting thing about PPC, it does not go up significantly as you would expect for, let's say, a $40 item. It won't suddenly turn into $8 or $9 on average. It'll actually be consistent or a little bit higher. What can we deduce from that? Well, then it makes sense to go for a higher price product so that you can easily pay for PPC as well and still maintain a decent absolute profit. Perhaps not profit percentage in terms of net profit, but in terms of absolute profit, like a nominal amount, like $5 per item profit, you'll be able to maintain that. So that's why it's better to go after an item that's selling for 20 or 25 pounds or dollars rather than 10 to 12 pounds or dollars if you can stretch to that. Now, before I discuss point number 4, don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn on the bell icon if you're enjoying the content. It really helps me out here on YouTube to know that you are all enjoying the videos and you're finding them useful. So point number 4 is ease of launch. The reality is, as I mentioned in my previous videos, cash flow is everything in this business, and trying to preserve that and keep things flowing is a constant challenge as a new entrepreneur. So the best way in terms of launching products quickly and getting that money back in terms of sales is to launch, generally speaking, lighter products, especially as a beginner, because you can get them in stock quickly to an Amazon warehouse, sometimes within 7 to 10 days. But you have to balance that off with the fact that air shipping in general will be more expensive as compared to sea shipping, and it will eat into your margins more. Now, that being the case, it again makes sense to go for a lighter product, but one that costs a little bit more in terms of price point. So again, going around the $20 to $25 range rather than the $10 if you can stretch to that. This will give you that extra buffer to actually launch products quickly and get them in stock again quickly via air shipping rather than going via the sea shipping route, which is something you can consider for the same product but later down the line when cash flow is very much in your favor and you're easily holding stock of your item. Finally, before I discuss the kind of sweet spot in terms of price point, let's discuss point number 5, competitor pricing. Now, this is important. If you're in a niche, and let's say, for example, the sellers you're going after, you're selling quite a similar product, they're all selling their items for, let's say, £25 or $25. Keep in mind, this is not going to be your price point. It may be your price point much later down the road, but at the beginning, always discount that price, I would say in my experience, by 20%. So if they're selling for 25, you're selling for 20, and that's what you should factor into your margins. So again, if your competitors are selling for $13 or $14, that would mean you would need to sell for 10 or 11 to get the ball rolling, to get the volume of sales, because you need to undercut them. Because remember, you have no reviews. You have a brand new listing. So you need something to differentiate your product, if that makes sense. So then by the very fact that you're back into the $9 to $11 or pound range, that's not going to be good enough in terms of profit margin. Hence, make sure your competitors are selling for 18 to 19 pounds or dollars upwards. That way you've already discounted 20% and you still have adequate profit margin. So finally, what is the sweet spot? So again, this is my experience and this goes for, let's say, 95% of situations. Of course, there will be exceptions, and you have to remember a lot of the time when you're more experienced, you actually want to go after the exceptions because that's where generally you tend to get less competition. But as a new seller, you do not need to do that. So don't worry about that. The sweet spot here in the UK is somewhere around the £20 to £25 mark. Minimum, I would say about £15. So 15 to 25. If you can get your product selling price point around there, then you're good to go. For the US, it would be a little bit higher, obviously because of the exchange rate. We'd be looking at somewhere between $20 and $30. That would be ideal. That would be an amount where you'd be able to afford inventory, at least 200 or 300 units as a new seller. You can incorporate PPC and still be making money. You'd have adequate profit margin taking into account FBA fees, and also you'll still be cheaper than your competitors at that price point. So that should be your target. Now, if you have any questions about price point, profit margins, how to actually calculate any of this stuff, please comment below and I'll do another video about it. I'm keen to go into the numbers in a lot more depth, probably in an upcoming video. So if you're interested in that and actually how to calculate net profit, just let me know. And also, our comprehensive training program is the second link in the description below if you're interested. We are running a promotion at the moment, so you can use the coupon code, which is also below in the description, to get an extra discount. Thanks very much for listening.